aku Suci. Nah, video ini kita akan membahas terkait dengan pengauditan, ya, dimana dengan tema penguatan sistem pengendalian internal untuk mendukung transparansi, akurasi, dan akuntabilitas dalam pengelolaan keuangan dan operasional perusahaan. Dalam dunia bisnis yang semakin kompetitif, pengelolaan keuangan dan operasional yang transparan dan akurat menjadi kunci keberlanjutan perusahaan. Nah, video ini akan membawa kita untuk memahami langkah-langkah penting dalam penguatan sistem pengendalian internal melalui audit mendalam pada siklus penggajian, inventaris, modal, dan juga saldo kas.
Internal controls. Internal controls are the rules, processes, and procedures that a business creates to protect its assets and ensure the accuracy of its financial information. There are many different kinds of internal controls depending on the area of the business you are working in. Let's look at the purchasing process, for example. When a company makes purchases, they want to protect their cash and ensure that their employees are not making personal or otherwise unnecessary purchases using the company funds. To protect against that, many businesses use a purchase ordering system that requires approval from management before purchases can be made. Businesses also make many purchases using checks, because the process of writing checks allows more people to be involved in the purchasing process, whereas cash or debit cards can be accessed and used by only one person. Splitting up the tasks, like check writing, across multiple people is known as segregation of duties, and is one of the simplest and most common internal controls used to reduce fraud risk. There are 4 essential functions in the check writing process, for example, that can be segregated and assigned to different people: preparing the check, signing the check, recording the purchase in the accounting system, and reconciling the check purchase with bank records. Ideally, all 4 of these tasks would be assigned to different people. However, this isn't always possible in a small business. If at least one of these 4 tasks can be assigned to a different person, the opportunity for fraud is reduced considerably. Another simple control that many businesses use is mandatory vacations for any staff working with finances or money. Statistically, many employees that commit fraud choose never to take vacations. It looks like they are dedicated, loyal employees, or maybe just workaholics, but the truth is, they are afraid someone will discover their fraud if they aren't there to keep it going. In fact, many times fraud is discovered when the employee finally does leave the office for a while. So requiring employees to take vacations can help a company prevent, or at least discover, a fraud scheme. Those are a few examples of controls for purchasing. Receiving also has similar controls. When a company receives money from customers, they want to ensure that an employee doesn't just keep the money for themselves. Once again, the segregation of duties helps prevent this kind of fraud in the receiving side too. Some tasks that can be segregated and assigned to other employees include receiving the cash, recording the receipt, making the deposit, and reconciling the deposit with bank records. These are not always easy to split up among many employees, but again, if at least one of these steps can be given to another employee, the opportunity for fraud is reduced. Another way to help reduce fraud on the receiving side is to get your customers involved. Have you ever noticed at some stores there is a sign at the register that says if you don't get a receipt, your product is free? The receipt from the register forces the employee to properly record the receipt of cash instead of just putting it in their pocket and pretending the sale didn't take place. Many stores also have a screen showing the transaction to the customers so that the customers can watch the sale being recorded to ensure that it is recorded correctly. By showing the customer the transaction and encouraging them to demand a receipt, the company is keeping their employees honest. After the cash is received, companies ensure that it is locked up with limited access and deposited each night so that the cash is not sitting around and available to employees. These are just a few examples of the many internal controls that businesses create to protect their assets and ensure financial accuracy. The more these are followed, the less opportunity for fraud will exist.
Nah, tadi sudah di-review sedikit ya teman-teman betapa pentingnya pengendalian internal tersebut, karena pengendalian internal adalah mekanisme yang memastikan setiap proses bisnis berjalan dengan efisien, aman, dan juga sesuai dengan regulasi. Tanpa adanya pengendalian internal yang kuat, perusahaan beresiko mengalami kerugian finansial, kecurangan, hingga reputasi yang buruk. Nah, mari kita lihat bagaimana audit menjadi alat penting untuk mengevaluasi dan memperkuat pengendalian internal tersebut. Setelah melihat sekilas video terkait dengan apa itu siklus penggajian serta bagaimana tahap-tahap dari penggajian tersebut, nah audit dari siklus penggajian ini itu berfokus pada keakuratan, pembayaran gaji, dan kepatuhan terhadap kebijakan perusahaan serta regulasi. Nah, auditor memeriksa data karyawan, kontrak kerja, hingga dokumen absensi untuk memastikan tidak ada kesalahan atau kecurangan. Contohnya seperti karyawan fiktif atau perhitungan yang tidak sah. Nah, selanjutnya terkait dengan audit siklus inventaris dan pergudangan, yang dimana pada siklus inventaris, audit itu dilakukan untuk memastikan keakuratan pencatatan barang dan kesesuaian antara data sistem dengan kondisi fisik di gudang. Auditor memeriksa pengendalian keamanan gudang, catatan penerimaan, dan pengeluaran barang, serta melakukan analisis terhadap stok usang untuk mencegah kerugian perusahaan. Nah, selanjutnya kita akan menyimak sedikit cuplikan tentang video inventaris serta bagaimana siklus dari inventaris tersebut.
Inventory is the accounting of items, component parts, and raw materials a company uses in production or sells. Inventory is one of the most important sources of revenue for a company. Inventory turnover represents sales and is classified as an asset on the balance sheet. On the other hand, too much inventory can become a practical liability. There are three common types of inventory. Raw materials, the materials used to produce finished goods. Work in progress, raw materials in the process of being assembled into finished goods. Finished goods, goods ready to be sold. There are also many specialized types of inventory, such as MRO, transit inventory, and service inventory. The first best practice around inventory is tracking. When businesses effectively manage inventory, they keep just enough stock to fulfill customer orders, freeing up cash for other business needs and future investments. Inventory management tracks the flow of goods from manufacturer to warehouse to consumer. But it's not just an internal process for inventory tracking purposes, it directly affects the customer relationship. Effective inventory management maintains a balance between customer satisfaction and company profits, ensuring there are enough products to sell without spending too much getting them into customers' hands. Fluctuations in demand, seasonality, supply chain logistics, and a product's natural life cycle can make managing inventory feel like aiming for a moving target, which is why managing inventory through an ad hoc combination of spreadsheets, multiple apps, or pen and paper can often cripple a business. That's where an automated inventory management solution comes into play. It provides inventory visibility across all channels, tracking orders and fulfillment to and from customers and suppliers. This helps manage inventory while also optimizing processes, saving businesses time and money, and ultimately ensuring customer satisfaction. A cycle count is the process of physically counting a subset of inventory in a specified location on a recurring basis. Regular cycle counting is an important means of checks and balances, ensuring items on the shelves match inventory records. In conducting a cycle count, businesses often use the ABC inventory classification method, in which items of the highest value or sold at the highest volume are counted more frequently, while slower moving goods are counted less frequently. Implementing periodic cycle counts into everyday tasks can help minimize interruptions in the warehouse, reduce required safety stock, lower overhead costs, and make physical counts less painful.
Any inventory of raw materials, finished goods as well as intermediate in-process inventory has an economic value and is considered an asset in the books of the company. Accordingly, any asset needs to be managed to ensure it is maintained properly and is stored in secure environment to avoid pilferage, loss or thefts, etc. Inventory control assumes significance on account of many factors. First of all, inventory of raw materials as well as finished goods can run in thousands of stock keeping unit varieties. Secondly, inventory can be in one location or spread over many locations. Thirdly, inventory may be with the company or may be under the custody of a third-party logistics provider. These factors necessitate inventory maintenance mechanisms to be devised to ensure inventory control. Inventory control is also required as an operational process requirement. Inventory has two different dimensions to it. On one level it is physical and involves physical transactions and movement of inventory. While on the other hand, inventory is recognizable by the book stock and the system stocks maintained. This necessitates inventory control mechanism to be implemented to ensure the book stocks and the physical stocks match at all times. Thirdly, the inventory always moves through supply chain and goes through various transactions at various places. The number of transactions and handling that it goes through from the point of origin to the point of destination is numerous. Therefore, it becomes essential to control inventory and have visibility through the pipeline, including transit inventory. Inventory control is exercised through inventory audits and cycle counts. An inventory audit essentially comprises of auditing the book stocks and transactions and matching physical stocks with the book stock. Cycle counts. Cycle count refers to the process of counting inventory items available in physical locations. Depending upon the nature of inventory, number of transactions and the value of items, cycle count can be carried on periodically or perpetually. Daily cycle count. Normally, where the number of stock keeping units is very high coupled with high number of transactions and throughput, daily cycle count is initiated, wherein a certain percentage of locations or SKUs are counted on daily basis and physical stock is compared with system stock. By the end of the month, all of the stocks would have been covered once in cycle count. Inventory system throws up a count list based on an analysis of the movements of fast-moving stock keeping units along with other attributes like value, etc. In some of the system, inventory controllers can set up the attributes for each cycle count. Quarterly and half-yearly cycle counts. End of the sales quarter or end of half-yearly sales, finished goods and spare parts are normally covered under inventory audit and a 100% cycle count is carried out. Wall-to-wall cycle count. End of financial year and closing of books entails doing wall-to-wall cycle count of all stocks lying in all locations and tallying with books of account. This is a mandatory audit requirement, and until stock figures are reconciled, certified by auditors and published, new year books of accounts cannot be started afresh. So, how the audit process works. Except for daily cycle counts, all other cycle counts entail counting 100% of all the stocks by stopping all transactions during the counting period. System transactions are also frozen until the count is completed. Inventory system throws up count list with stock keeping unit number, description and location number. The operator goes to the location, checks the stock keeping unit, counts the quantity available and updates the list, which is then fed into the system. The system reconciles the physical quantity with system quantity and throws up discrepancy report, which is further worked upon to tally and adjust inventory.
Ada berbagai instrumen investasi yang tersedia untuk mencapai tujuan keuangan. Berdasarkan kelas aset dapat dibagi menjadi aset tetap, komoditas, ekuitas, hutang, dan aset likuid. Namun untuk mencapai rencana keuangan di masa depan dengan lebih cepat, perlu diversifikasi di berbagai instrumen investasi atau kelas aset. Investasi di pasar modal adalah salah satu solusi investasi yang dapat dipilih. Apa itu pasar modal? Pasar modal sama seperti pasar biasa, di mana ada penjual, pembeli, dan transaksi jual-beli. Namun barang yang dijual adalah saham, obligasi, dan instrumen keuangan lainnya. Penjual disebut sebagai emiten dan menjual barangnya melalui sekuritas sebagai perantara. Sedangkan pembeli disebut sebagai investor. Ada investor individual dan ada juga investor institusi seperti manajer investasi.
Nah teman-teman, jadi di video tersebut itu menjelaskan bagaimana kita bisa memperoleh tentang modal yang dimana dilakukan dengan cara melakukan investasi. Nah, pada audit perolehan modal ini itu memastikan bahwa semua transaksi terkait pinjaman atau penerbitan ekuitas dicatat secara akurat dan sesuai dengan perjanjian serta regulasi. Fokusnya adalah pada rekonsiliasi dokumen perjanjian, konfirmasi saldo utang, dan kepatuhan terhadap ketentuan yang disepakati dalam perjanjian modal. Nah, sebelum mengakhiri dari audit, masih ada satu langkah lagi, yaitu terkait dengan audit saldo kas. Nah, saldo kas ini adalah komponen yang sangat rentan terhadap penyalahgunaan. Oleh karena itu, audit saldo kas mencakup rekonsiliasi laporan rekening koran, verifikasi fisikas, dan analisis mutasi rekening untuk mendeteksi transaksi mencurigakan yang dapat merugikan perusahaan. Nah, langkah terakhir dalam audit adalah menyusun laporan yang mencakup temuan dan rekomendasi. Hal ini bertujuan untuk membantu perusahaan memperbaiki kelemahan sistem pengendalian internal, memastikan kepatuhan terhadap regulasi, dan mencegah potensi kerugian di masa depan. Dengan adanya audit yang menyeluruh, perusahaan dapat mencapai transparansi, akurasi, dan akuntabilitas yang lebih baik. Pastikan setiap aspek operasional dan keuangan mendukung pertumbuhan yang berkelanjutan. Nah, juga untuk tetap mengoptimalkan sistem pengendalian internal.